When you bring up sword and sorcery, no matter who's in front of you, even if they're not huge movie buffs, they'll certainly bring up the name Conan the Barbarian. That's just how legendary the movie is, because it redefined how a whole genre can be portrayed on the big screen. I can't even think about the exact number of movies that were inspired by this, because filmmakers wanted to ride the Conan wave and cash in as much as they could. And at the center of it all is Arnold Schwarzenegger's iconic portrayal of Robert E. Howard's character. That is the kind of legacy you don't want to mess with. So, any new installment to the series or a reboot is bound to invite very stringent scrutiny from fans. But if the proposed release does well, that's a story to tell for generations. But if it goes sideways, no one will ever let it go. So, where do things stand right now? What do we actually know? What are the rumors worth paying attention to? And what should fans realistically expect? I've done the digging, so you don't have to. Now, let's get into it. So what exactly is this new Conan project? I know I just brought up reboots a while back, so it's important to get started with the right facts. This new project is not a reboot or any kind of follow-up to the 2011 Conan the Barbarian film starring Jason Momoa. This is a new feature film under development at 20th Century Fox, and we will see Schwarzenegger return in this one to reprise his role. So far, the movie's name seems to be King Conan, and it's positioned to be the third installment to the Conan series from the 1980s, starring the aforementioned actor. So it will be set after the events of Conan the Destroyer from 1984, and it will be written and directed by none other than Christopher McQuarrie. Just in case you're unfamiliar with the name, you must at least know about the Mission Impossible franchise, right? That's the same director. This was confirmed by industry insiders who managed to stay mum on anything else, such as release date or production details. But officially, it was Schwarzenegger himself who spilled the beans at the Arnold Sports Festival in Columbus, Ohio earlier this year. Now, it is common knowledge that Hollywood's tried to recreate the Conan magic many times over the last few decades, but it's never materialized, unfortunately. The original film was a success at the time of release and remains a household name to date. The lead actor himself wanted to make it a trilogy back in the late 80s, but it didn't happen in the end. There's not much we know about what that film would have been like, but now that it's been over 40 years, I assume that the storyline will be much different for the new project. After all, Schwarzenegger himself is in his late 70s, so there will be limits as to what he can pull off physically. The 2011 film was an attempt to reboot the franchise, and while casting Jason Momoa wasn't a bad choice per se, considering he certainly has the physique for it, the movie wasn't really that good. And Momoa cannot solely be blamed for it because there were at least 5 things other than the acting that led to it tanking at the box office and with critics. King Conan is still in the development phase, and we don't even know if the script has been fully prepared and given the green light. The only confirmed cast member is Schwarzenegger, and we have no release date or even timeline about when filming is set to begin. But insiders have stated that 20th Century Fox spent the greater part of 2025 to make this movie a reality. With that kind of dedication from the studio, we can surely expect good things, right? Who's making it and why that matters. Alright, time to get into the details of exactly why this new Conan the Barbarian project finally has fans expecting good things. As I mentioned, Schwarzenegger informed fans about King Conan along with a few other planned works during the Ohio event, and he specifically was all praise for the director while describing the production had not yet started. Referring to Christopher McQuarrie, he stated, "They hired a fantastic writer director who did Tom Cruise's last 4 movies. They just hired him to write and direct King Conan. And we can absolutely expect some Ethan Hunt flavor for this one too, don't you think?" Stunts are something McQuarrie is an expert at, because I don't think I'll ever forget that hanging from the ceiling scene from Mission Impossible 1. So, it will be really exciting to see what he does when the genre is not a spy thriller but sword and sorcery. According to IMDb, Andrea Burloff is handling the screenplay, and Will Beall is credited as one of the writers, known for Aquaman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Chris Morgan from Fast and Furious and The Mummy is set to produce. And hey, McQuarrie's involvement's not all Schwarzenegger revealed. The former governor of California seems to want to make a definite comeback in the acting world. And in addition to King Conan, he seems to be particularly interested in returning for Commando and Predator as well. It feels like a full circle moment, doesn't it? Conan was pretty much the first film that propelled him to stardom. And then with The Terminator, he became synonymous with action cinema. He's trying to close the most iconic roles on his own terms and get some kind of personal closure. Because that does make sense. He was the one who made these films famous. He said that he's spoken to Dan Trachtenberg and praised him for his work on the latest Predator film. Now he wants me to be in the next Predator. We've talked about it. That's not all either. Fox is apparently the one pulling the strings behind all this because they were the ones who reached out to him. He added, as a matter of fact, Fox Studios has kind of rediscovered Arnold. They've come to me and said, we want you to do Predator. We just got the script for you to do Commando 2. Oh yeah, my man is booked and busy. When I first heard the news, I obviously felt this wave of excitement pass over me because what do you mean we're going to watch one of the OGs in action again? But then logic kicked in and I found myself asking, how can we possibly expect this guy to play the same roles he portrayed almost 40 years back? That's why I touched upon the question of whether he will be physically able to go through with not just one, but 3 different franchise revivals. Thankfully, Arnold himself has addressed the obvious. He's clarified that while he will indeed return to these movies, his role will be written keeping in mind that over 4 decades have passed since the last time he appeared in either of those films. The scripts will be framed considering his age, and he himself does not want it to be some kind of de-aged portrayal. He explained how the filmmakers will take into account that he has become much older, and realistically, there are certain things they cannot have him do. I'll still go in there and kick some ass, but it will be different, he stated. The actor also recognized how special effects have changed significantly over the years, so there are a lot of new things they can come up with. He had released a self-help book and a memoir in 2023 titled Be Useful: 7 Tools for Life, where he had talked at length about how the original Conan director, John Milius, had demanded some pretty weird and unorthodox things from him while filming the movie. He described them as, I basically went under the vocational school, this one for aspiring action heroes. Then on top of that, Milius had me doing all kinds of terrible shit. I crawled through rocks, take after take, until my forearms bled. I ran from wild dogs that managed to catch me and pull me into a thorny bush. I beat a real dead vulture, which required I wash my mouth out with alcohol after each take. On one of the first days of filming, I tore a gash on my back that required 40 stitches. I kid you not. When you got to know this for the first time, I wasn't even sure he was being serious, because what on earth did I just read? Then again, Hollywood was very different even 20 years ago compared to what it is today. Directors cannot just make actors do things they're not comfortable with. I think that's why Schwarzenegger is thankful for the developments in VFX. I talked about how the studio has plenty of money to make these movies really big, so he's looking forward to it. Me too, Arnold. Me too. And for what it's worth, he's a respected name in the industry now, so at least he won't be biting vultures or other dead birds this time around. Now, I do have some other information that's not as authoritative, but I'm going to mention it just in case. Some sources have said that the actor has been frequenting the gym again to prepare physically and mentally for these roles whenever filming begins. Naturally, when this was leaked, fans were rightfully worried because none of us want to see him push himself beyond just so that we can have fun watching him on screen. Come on, man, we're not that bad. But apparently later, the same source confirmed that while Arnold might not be 30 years old anymore, he is still pretty robust for his age. I know that no one wants these movies to be substandard, so there will be a fair amount of shirtless scenes. It looks like the OG Conan wants his real body on display as much as possible, but knows that VFX will be involved in considerable measure too. What's the story they're teasing so far? There's not a lot we know about the storyline. Officially, it's only been revealed that the movie will focus on how, after ruling his kingdom for 40 years, Conan gets forced out. He then returns and faces numerous odds, such as violence, magic, and creatures. Schwarzenegger has gone slightly more in-depth and said that Conan gets forced out of his kingdom because he becomes complacent and an ineffective ruler. Then there's conflict, of course, he added, and then he somehow comes back, and then there's all kinds of madness and violence and magic and creatures. And this storyline actually exists in the source material as well. Robert E. Howard's work charts the entire life of Conan, right from his wandering thief era to the period he becomes a mercenary, and when he finally becomes an aging king who realizes that being a good barbarian does not make one a good ruler. This does sound a little bit philosophical, right? And naturally, that does not have much of a place in barbarian movies of all things. We can rest assured that there will be stunts and fights and a whole lot of action because Arnie has reassured us himself. But I think the director will also have a slightly more introspection-heavy approach. Here, I want to use the example of Unforgiven and how Clint Eastwood basically challenged the gunslinger image by taking a stand against the very violence that made him popular. So, we can expect something similar with King Conan. Some fans have estimated that the film will focus on Conan approaching the end of his life and will have one final battle to prove that he is still worthy. It is expected that more details will be made public once the rest of the cast is announced, but so far, I think the movie's definitely going in a good direction. What stage is the movie actually at, and what's real versus fan-made? Over the next few weeks and months, I'm sure you'll come across many videos on YouTube and other platforms with official trailers of King Conan. and I generally love fan-made things, but nothing has been officially announced about the film, except what I've covered in this video already. There's no theatrical release date, no other confirmed cast member except Arnold Schwarzenegger, and even the rest of the crew remains unknown. We don't know who's handling the soundtrack or the cinematography, and we certainly have no indication that the script itself has been finalized. Naturally, filming is yet to begin, so any trailers or videos or snippets you might see circulating online are not official. King Conan is just in development, and a movie of this caliber takes time to materialize. I would rather they take longer and come up with a solid film instead of rushing through it just to hand out a cash grab that's too reminiscent of the 2011 Conan the Barbarian movie. I'll keep a lookout for any new developments and any casting decisions and or press releases from the studio, and I will absolutely update you all accordingly. At the end of the day, Conan remains a man forged by his indomitable will, answerable to no one. The character represents a primal sort of desire we all have within ourselves to be free and live according to our own rules. No bosses, no deadlines, no bills. Just us against the world. And that's why this story is legendary. I really want this project to succeed, and I know I'm not the only one. Conan the Barbarian is the blueprint of sword and sorcery, and seeing the original actor reprise his role once more on the big screen is probably what the fantasy genre needs right now. What do you think about King Conan? Will it live up to the expectations of fans, or are we simply going to see another disappointing venture? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel to keep up to date on all things Hollywood. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great day, and as always, stay marvelous.